going to want to hear what Frank has to say. Before we bring him out, I want to let you know our season's kind of winding down as far as events go, but we do have the Liberty Bash coming up in Bedford, and that is on September 10th. And we're going to be out there. So please come find us. Usually we all have our Indiana Normal shirts on. We'll have our swag there. So come on out. That's on the 10th, and that's in Bedford. And then we have the Harvest Fest, which is super exciting. That's going to be on September 24th. That's going to be at the Legion Post, 34, I believe, down there in Indy. Going to have music, vendors, everything. So come on down. We only have 2 episodes left of the Hoosier Cannabis Times. So we have Frank on tonight. We'll have on the 6th, we have Mike Wise. Very popular radio personality. He's going to be a blast to talk with. So definitely join us then. And then we're going to have a special edition, which is going to be on the 8th, not our normal Tuesday night. That's going to be 2 days later. And we're going to have Shelley Yoder and Rodney Pohl on. They are actually on the committees of the summer study. So they're hopefully, I don't know what they're going to be allowed to say or not say, but they're going to give us some intel on what's going on during the summer study, what's going to be happening, and hopefully kind of where we stand on the Delta 8 issue, Delta 9. Will they be discussing cannabis, all of that. So that's super exciting. And that'll be the last Hoosier Cannabis Times till after our conversations with the candidates. So that'll start on September 12th. You guys, I'm sure you've seen us do that. We're going to have, right now we have at least 10 candidates lined up. So tune in and see what your politicians are saying and what they're going to do for you, because they work for you. So those will start on September 12th, and we're going in hot and heavy on those. So join us. Right now, Neil, what you got in the news for us?
Hi, and welcome everybody. Michigan State Police have stopped blood tests for THC due to their testing procedures being faulty. According to MSP, the presence of CBD in a blood sample may have led to a positive result for THC. It's about time, and the reason I say that we've always known their method is not sensitive enough to distinguish between THC, which is what gets you high, from CBD, which is an extract of marijuana, which is not supposed to get you high, Mike Nichols said. Cannabis Council spokesperson Thomas Levine says that there could be over 20 years of injustice. September 20th will be the date of the Interim Study Committee's examination of cannabis in Indiana. We haven't narrowed it down to what they specifically want to hear about, but according to the release, Delta 8, Delta 9, and other THC products regarding potential health benefits, potential decriminalization, and other potential consequences. But this will be the 3rd interim study on cannabis, the first 2 both being a waste of everybody's time, as the study was biased against us and the lies of law enforcement were solidified. Of course, Indiana Normal will be present there, and we'll keep you posted on this ongoing story. The Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police claims a poll taken of its law enforcement members claimed 97% oppose the policies of Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears. The FOP refused to release the actual number of votes cast. Mears is the only prosecutor in Indiana with the courage to deprioritize less than an ounce of cannabis. The FOP and police commands have usually opposed any relaxing cannabis laws. Indiana Normal has endorsed Democrat Mears for re-election. His opponent, Republican Cindy Carrasco, is a prohibitionist. Smoking cannabis is now more popular than smoking tobacco. For the first time in the history of Gallup polling, 16% of Americans say they use cannabis, as opposed to 11% of Americans who claim they use tobacco. And I'm betting the number of pot smokers is considerably more than that. And that's all the news that'll fit in a 1 1/4 size paper. I'm Neil Smith. Denise, over to you.
Thanks, Neil. And like you said, I remember seeing that story on the Indiana's FOP. So it'd be really, which is the Fraternal Order of Police. I can't remember if you said that, but yeah, I would like to see how many people voted, because when we were up here at the Three Rose Festival Parade, Indiana Normal had a float in there. We were getting fist bumps by police officers, low key, but we were getting them. So it would be interesting to see who voted and how many, what percentage of police voted on that. So thanks for keeping us posted.
Historically, police departments, your rank and file officer, they're tired of messing with it. Yeah, been for years.
Yep. Yep. That's about right. So let's go on. I'm super honored to have the president of the newly formed Indiana Chamber of Commerce, or I'm sorry, the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, Frank Lloyd, with us tonight. And when I first heard about this, and I'm like, okay, it sounds like it could be a good idea, but what is it? So the way they kind of explained it to me is, think traditional chamber of commerce, but just for the cannabis industry. And to me, that is so exciting, because it seems like the first states that got legalization is kind of like the Wild West. So I feel as though we've kind of honed that in. But Frank, what is the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce?
No, well said. Theoretically, we are a nonprofit organization formed to unite the current and future cannabis enthusiasts, patients, and entrepreneurs, giving us one voice. Simply put, we're here to create a sustainable Hoosier cannabis market. As most chambers, just like you said, we're here to advocate and promote and protect the businesses in the industry.
Well, now, why do you think that such a structure as a Chamber of Commerce would help?
It's a great question. Truthfully, I went to the actual Chamber of Commerce, and I have many other colleagues that have, to see if they were even interested in being a part of this industry. They laughed, they frowned, they want nothing to do with it. So that's why, after Normal's chairman tapped me and kind of gave me the idea to do this, I moved forward after knowing that our Indiana Chamber of Commerce is very reluctant and against this industry.
Wow.
Shelley?
Yeah, so I was looking around on the website and I saw that there's different membership levels. Tell us more about those.
No, great. I truthfully am working with some other cannabis chambers as well. Las Vegas, Kansas, and I'm not really reinventing the wheel with this. I'm kind of taking the best pieces from other chambers and adding that to the Indiana chamber. But everyone can be a member. It starts with ancillary memberships starting at $100. For businesses, it starts at $1,500, which in reality is a very small cost to the future benefits and profits of legalization. After that, like any nonprofit, we have a gold and platinum membership status. The more money that you contribute, the more recognition that you get, and the more you'll be able to use the chamber's resources. But everyone can be an ancillary membership, and it just helps us push the needle and lead the way, and pay some bills for education, political transparency, and lobbying.
So Frank,
what would a membership get you?
So a business membership will get you things like invitations to our monthly meetings, help out with our community service efforts, get status reports. You'll be invited to our newsletters. We'll get free marketing, which will be promoted on our social media, our website, and as well as you'll get logo promotions. And of
That's
course,
awesome.
you'll be invited to our networking events as well.
So would you say that the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce is geared more towards businesses, or can individuals become members? What's your vision?
Awesome question. Everybody can be a member. from just a regular person will benefit for kind of funding this mission and funding some lobbyists, because as you know, Colorado, they give their tax surplus back to every citizen. It doesn't matter if you're an advocate or not. There, you'll get better roads, you'll get better education, you'll get better policing. So everybody truly will benefit from the legalization.
And I also feel that with the individuals, they'll at least be able to, like you kind of said earlier, have the resources, because some people say they want to go to a dispensary. They may not know which dispensaries are good, or are you going to have some type of, oh, here you can, this is what we've checked out, or a laboratory, or will all that be available through the chamber?
Of course. And then the other thing that, even if I wasn't in the industry, if I wasn't an advocate, political transparency. You'll kind of be up to date and privy on that. Even being in the industry, it's always changing, and I'm never, or I was never really currently up to date. Also, the education of our public, kind of ending that stigma and getting re-educated from the past prohibition.
It feels like that's an uphill battle sometimes. Yeah.
It's an
Yeah,
uphill battle, but it's a battle that everyone on this show is ready to fight and doing their part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Neil?
Where do you think what few funds you're going to be able to bring in, especially right away? Where do you think those funds are best spent?
No, great question. Obviously, there is a board established of experts who will be advising how the funds get allocated. Me personally and candidly, I think most of a majority of our not majority, but definitely a high percentage of our funds will be going to our lobbying efforts. We're working with some top lobbyists, Andy Bauman, which you guys already know. He is on the team, as well as another lobbyist from Taft who actually was in charge and led and took the lead on legalizing off-track sports betting. So as you know, that's only been in effect for about 4 years, and that's almost solely responsible for lobbying efforts done by Taft.
Well, it's we've been trying to find good lobbyists for a while now. I remember about 10 years ago, we had, and I can't think of his name. He was one of the leading lobbyists. Wanted $30,000 to do some things in the legislature for us, and we had a treasury of about 3,000. It was. We've been trying to do this for years and years and years.
And as you know, Neil, I do have a couple of lobbyists on the team that are working pro bono for now, but obviously the price tag on those things are never cheap. But I really do think that that's going to be a useful tactic for our cause.
Hey, Frank, we have a couple viewer questions. Can we go ahead and ask you those now?
Of course.
All right. We have one that says, what is the position of the chamber regarding the citizens' right to freely grow?
We are all for freely grow. We really want to protect Hoosiers' rights and patients' rights. This is something that should be accessible to everyone who needs it, definitely. But we also want to make sure it's the highest quality and it's safe and it's done right, because you can definitely have a lot of people that are growing their own stuff, but then that kind of opens up things for the black market as well. So I definitely want to protect citizens' rights to grow, and I think that that's going to be it's going to be very useful for growing the industry as well, because that's also going to keep the dispensaries in check also.
Absolutely. So a follow-up to that, I'm sure you're familiar with the caregiver grows up in Michigan. And I don't know if this was from the same viewer or a different viewer. Asked, will there be caregiver rights being fought for through the chamber?
That is a great question. Priority right now, we're trying to baby step it. So as of right now, that's not something that's necessarily on the vision board. But as we start to progress and as we start to grow, we can start dialing in those type of topics.
Okay. And then a couple more from our viewers. Will the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce be making recommendations to legislatures on how to disperse the tax revenue that's allocated through the cannabis legalization?
100%. Theoretically, and Neil actually mentioned this early, or we're trying to create a council, or the board is theoretically going to be a council for legislation to lean on when they have any questions, any needing of education. We want to be the go-to contact for any cannabis needs as far as legislation goes.
What is your vision or the chamber's vision of where that tax revenue would go?
I think that it should go to the things that are most needed. So I theoretically would need to probably get a little bit more data and to where we are missing some things, but obviously the big ones: education, roads, infrastructure, and I'd also kind of say, economic growth development.
Yeah, we definitely need help in those areas, especially education. Wouldn't that be funny if we could fund all our schools with pot money?
You could definitely do that. We could definitely do that.
Yeah. And then
Denver's done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Denver did that.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully some of our inner city schools, the schools that don't get as much tax money, I would love for most of it to be funneled there. That would be amazing.
For Indiana to have a surplus of tax revenue, but have one of the lowest rankings as far as education goes, is sad for any person in legislation. Shouldn't be able to hold their head up high with those numbers.
Money sitting there in the bank doesn't do you much good.
Not at all.
Take
Not
it
at all.
out, put it on something.
Exactly.
So true. And then last viewer question, and then Shelley, I know you have one you've been wanting to ask. And Frank, you may not know the answer to this one, but a viewer asked, is the Delta 8-9 ban a possible outcome of this meeting on September 20th?
Anything's possible. I can say that it is a possible thing, just to be realistic about it. And I think our citizens need to be realistic about this as well. That is a possible outcome. Another possible outcome is decriminalization, though, or getting medicinal marijuana passed. So
okay.
There's definitely extremes on both sides.
Now let's remember, this is just a committee. They will, their purpose ostensibly is to gather information and present a report. Here is why it would be beneficial for the state of Indiana to legalize cannabis, or something, whatever they're working on there. They would have to make a committee recommendation to the full legislature, so that it would still have to go through the entire process.
Definitely. But there's definitely steps in both directions with the summer study.
And kind of on that, which I know you're not an expert on the summer study, but is there anything that our viewers can do?
No, that's a great question. I would say just keep up to date, keep privy. And then once we do finalize this outcome, definitely reach out to anybody who was against it, and even people who are for it, to congratulate them and keep it moving in the right direction.
Indiana Normal has that information available on their website, at least. So, especially if they're your legislator.
Exactly.
Now a lot of legislators, they won't pay any attention if you're not in their district, which is not a good practice. But a lot of them do that. Therefore, especially if you're in one of their districts, let them know how you feel.
Definitely.
Well
And
said.
Neil, you're kind of our government guru. How do they find out if their local government is part of the study?
Well, you mean if they're, how do they find out if their representative is part of the study committee?
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm up in Northeast Indiana. How do I find out if anybody in my district is part of is in the committee for the
Well,
summer?
you can go to iga.in.gov, the website, and you'll see a tab up in the upper left-hand corner that says interim committees, and you scroll down there and pick the public health. They've got one of those long names, but it starts with public health, and then to see who's on that public health committee. And then if you need information as to who your representative is, you're going to want to go over to indianavoters.com and look up all your numbers and information. So, they don't make it easy, but it's possible.
So yeah, I mean, we spend how much time scrolling around on our phone and doing stupid stuff? Go ahead and go on iga.in.gov. It probably wouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to figure out who's on the committee and if they're in your district. So, and believe it or not, they will look up, if you email them, they will look up to see if you're in their, you're in their area and if you're a registered voter. And
right.
it does make a difference. It does make a difference. So Shelley, I'm sorry, go ahead. We've kind of gone off the rails a little bit, but Shelley.
It's about time, Denise. Frank, it looks like you've got a great start to memberships. How can businesses or individuals join you?
No, the easiest way right now is just to go to www.indiecannabis.org. Please check out our website for everybody, even if you are just interested or want to know more. But we try to make it really easy to become membership. So you can just follow our website or visit our website.
Fantastic.
Frank, could you give us that website again?
www.indiecannabis.org.
Okay, indiecannabis.org.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Okay, so is there anything that would disqualify a business or individual from joining?
No, starting off now, we are on the ground floor, so any and everyone is invited. Long term, there probably will be a application process for gold and platinum members, but definitely anybody can join.
Okay, so get in now before he can boot you.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
That being said, the application process is necessary because we really do want to protect Hoosiers. I already, unfortunately, have a lot of outside people that are not affiliated with Indiana at all trying to get in. So we're really trying to protect Hoosiers with this venture.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Neil.
All right. I want to go into a little more detail, if you would, about how you will be working with our legislators to get cannabis regulated properly, so Hoosiers can afford as well quality a product as possible.
No, that's a great question, Neil. I'm trying to create this team of experts. So as of now, I'm working with a group called Focus, and you can visit their website as well, focusstandards.org. But they were responsible, or they helped out greatly in getting Canada federally legal. They also got Morocco federally legal. So trying to get a team of experts to lean on to give you direction, and then us as Hoosiers can pick and choose which will benefit us the most.
Okay. Boy, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be an uphill battle. We've been struggling with this for 50 years, and I think the organizations like yours, other organizations, Indiana Normal, we've been working diligently to make sure we've got legislation, we've got people to reach the officials and representatives. What else could we be doing in that regard?
No, that's something that I'm learning myself, Neil. Truthfully, you guys kind of know my venture or my journey before I joined Normal, which was a huge part of my journey, because you guys have kind of taught me a lot of the advocacy groups, a lot of the bits and pieces when it takes to working with legislation. Before that, I was working with Mississippi, following their same plan as they did a petition with their citizens and got 500,000 signatures, and were able to get that on the ballot. But if you don't get legislation on your side while doing it, it will backfire. They were able to get that on the ballot, pass it, but their Supreme Court overturned it because legislation wasn't ready to approve that right now. So my journey's kind of taught me a couple things, but I'm still learning. I'm still definitely learning, but I know one thing is to be privy about what's going on with legislation, and just knowing where everybody stands, because that's something I'm still figuring out myself. But just as far as politicians go, that's something that they work hard to do, is to hide agendas and not be very transparent, especially when it comes to the cannabis issue. So really diving in, knowing who your legislations are, knowing who are the candidates stand for and believe, and then you have your right to go and vote for who you feel is best. But a lot of people right now, I know for a fact, are voting for people that actually disagree with some of their values in their beliefs. So that's something I'm really trying to change.
Yeah, that's not a good situation to be in at all. There's we are a nonpartisan group. Even though we can look at, we're not stupid either. We look at the letters behind people's names and who's on our side. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they voted against us before, so
And I'm not probably going to win any fans for this, but we're definitely nonpartisan. I kind of compare it to the cannabis enthusiasts. There are a million different types of cannabis enthusiasts. What people have done in the past was trying to put all those people in one box. And that's kind of how I feel about politicians as well, or the political parties. There are a million different types of Democrats. There are a million different types of Republicans. I don't want to put anybody in a box. Everybody's individual, regardless of the party that they represent.
And also on that note, just because they have voted against it in the past doesn't mean that they can't be educated or that they haven't changed their mind on their own. Jim Merritt is a great example. How long was he a prohibitionist? And he did his research, he learned, he had an open mind, and he has made a 180-degree turn. So I think, like you said, Frank, we got to keep those communication lines open with everyone, people that are even prohibitionists. You never know what's going to happen to change their mind.
For sure. Jim Merritt is a great example. I had coffee with him the other day, and he's fully supportive of the chamber.
Exactly. So sorry, Shelley, I don't mean to stop you right now, but we do need to pay our bills. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back, and Shelley has a question for you.
Sounds good.
Shelley, go
Very
ahead.
good. This is fun, guys. This is a great thing to talk about. So, Frank, kind of what steps would the chamber do to push for quality products for Hoosiers?
So the chamber's really leading with regulation, and that's what it comes down to. If we create the proper SOPs and guidelines, that will solidify us having some of the best products in the nation. As you guys know, our agricultural market is some of the best in the world. Our farmland's some of the best in the world. So we could really make some of the best products in the world if we get legislation behind it and get some good funding.
Very cool. Denise?
I'm going to go ahead and I promised I'd come back with more viewer questions, and luckily viewer questions are coming in hot and heavy. Frank, you have really opened a box that we've needed here in Indiana, so thank you for filling that void. Just first of all, one of our viewers asked, will the chamber be recognized by both state and federal government agencies? And they put kind of in parentheses, vocational rehabilitation, federal programs, that kind of thing.
So that is actually the goal. I'm working with some high level people that really think Indiana has the opportunity to mimic our model and take it to a national stage, because even on a national scale, Indiana is viewed as a very conservative state, where not only Hoosiers are saying this, but other Americans are saying that we will be the last state to get legalized. That's truthfully one of the biggest motivations I had from creating this chamber. When I first started my business, 20, 30 people a day were saying, when are we going to get legalized? And then immediately saying that we're going to be the last ones to be legalized. So that has been my biggest motivation for the chamber, and trying to put my best effort into making sure that not only are we not going to be the last state, but we're going to be the first state that gets national recognition, and they will take our model to a federal scale.
That's awesome. It's funny you say that, because about every event I've been to, and I'm sure Shell, everybody on the Indiana Normal board will say the same thing. Probably every other person that comes up to our booth, or everyone, is, when's it going to be legal here? When's it going to be legal here? We're going to be the last ones, aren't we? So yeah, I think that's kind of the mentality in Indiana.
It's a mentality, and it's just in my opinion, that's the worst mentality, to have your citizens thinking that you're the least progressive state in the nation.
Definitely.
We have, whenever I deal with somebody like that, I usually, ask them, well, what have you done to make sure that's not going to be the case?
Neil. Nothing.
Have you, talked to your legislator? Have you read articles? Have you educated yourself? Have you bought a $25 membership to Indiana Normal? Yep. Something, anything?
Spot on.
Why are you bitching about it? You haven't done anything.
Spot on, Neil. Spot on, Neil.
Have you walked in and just voted?
Yep. Exactly.
Frank, kind of a follow-up question from one of our viewers as far as the federal goes. It says, how can the chamber help with getting banks to allow us to open a business account?
You know what? That is an issue. It's a serious issue in Indiana. And as you know, I don't have an answer for that right now. It being federally legal, you are never going to have a bank that's ready to have a line out the door for people to give money to people in the industry. Even ourselves. So say Carmel, for example, you guys are all Hoosiers. We know Carmel. So if you take Indiana and you take Carmel would be the least progressive out of the counties here as well. It is extremely difficult to even open up a CBD shop in Carmel, because they're really opposed to it. So my best efforts and my answer to the question would be, let's get it legalized here, and then hopefully we can take that model to the feds and get it legalized there, because without that, I don't think banks are going to be jumping for anybody in our industry.
Right.
Yeah,
Neil, I was actually going to ask you, so our government guru, there's movement in the federal government, correct? Just at least banking wise?
The Safe Banking Act has been filed for some time. Um, it's there have been a lot of other heavy duty things coming on that have legitimately pushed the issue back. But then again, Biden is not a real heavy on the idea of legalization anyway. The whole banking problem could be saved with an executive order, but he doesn't want to do that. So,
Right.
No, I agree with you too, Neil. I think even with the Safe Banking Act, it's still not going to be the push that we would need until it gets federally legal. It's a great step, though. Definitely a great step forward.
well, the way the law is written is, if a bank does business with a business that deals with Schedule 1 or otherwise illegal substance, and then they run through the regular process, it is essentially a money laundering operation.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
It's sloppy and poor law to begin with. Meanwhile, we've got, dispensaries that are having huge amounts of cash and, huge amounts of robberies and crimes and
Exactly.
theft. And,
Exactly.
you want to take a bite out of crime, McGruff, legalize it, damn it.
I agree.
Well, and we did a whole show on it, and it's not only the dangers of dealing with only cash. The people that own the dispensaries, the people that work at the dispensaries can't show an income because they're getting paid in cash.
Right.
Or you do have the owner write a note. No, really, they make money. A bank's not going to lend you any money on that. Anything over 10,000, you have to fill out your tax form. So then you say, oh, it's a pot business. So it needs to change. You're right.
No
Yeah.
health insurance either. Yeah, you can't have health insurance if you're in the industry. Yeah.
Really? That I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And a
Wow.
lot
So
of
something that's
a lot of property insurance won't cooperate with cannabis businesses either.
You're correct. Yep. They see it as a huge risk.
So the dispensaries themselves have a hard time getting insurance on their businesses?
Most
Mhm.
actually don't have insurance at all. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they
Wow.
see it as such a big risk that people are going to most likely rob them because they're a cash only business. So they just refuse.
And
Wow,
they know the
those-
cops aren't going to bust their asses helping a bunch of potheads.
Yeah. Obviously, the insurance companies have never been to a dispensary because it's like going to Fort Knox when you go in them things. But
That's
I
why.
get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly.
Yeah, I get it. So something I had that, Frank, I'm sure is near and dear to your heart with your business and kind of a lot of like small business owners in the CBD industry right now, small growers, that kind of thing. How are you going to help to keep small dispensaries and farms at the forefront so big cannabis, big tobacco doesn't just take over?
No, that's definitely one of the priorities with the chamber. That's why we really do need to unite. So uniting the smaller companies, the mom and pop shops, that's how you're able to have a voice against the big guys. Without that, we've seen it in other states before. They will Amazon it and Walmart it, and they will definitely take out the little guys if you do not have that unity in the beginning.
What can be done to stop that?
So, yeah, kind of just kind of repeating. We really need to advocate together, and as far as regulations go, you can control protecting the small guys, just like the Indiana Chamber does. They actually do things to protect small businesses. We would do the same thing as far as cannabis industry goes.
So would it be more of something that's written into law, or would it just be kind of communities trying to
It would
themselves?
have to be in regulation. It would have to be documented for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
that is something that
like
we're
to hear
lobbying
that.
for. No, that is something that we're lobbying for.
Okay, perfect. Shelley?
Well, I'm going to skip my order of questions here real quick because I see the viewers ask the same thing. So, Frank, has everybody been pretty copacetic towards the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce? Have you got any negativity about it yet, or how's the regular Chamber of Commerce treating you?
So that's good. Well said. I have talked to the president of the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and again, that's what I mentioned. He's not a fan. Doesn't show any interest in wanting to work together, and he is a prohibitionist himself. He does not see this benefiting our state, and he does not see this as a tool that he wants to work with or thinks that it will be beneficial at all. But as far as just citizens go, people in the industry, advocates, super excited. I get thanked all the time for doing it. So that's definitely what keeps me going.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's really interesting to hear that the Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure he's the president or whatever his title is, his whole job is dealing with commerce and business and creating business and funds and protect. And he hasn't been able to see the value of cannabis legalization.
So he's not the first person I ran into this, but a lot of people, until it becomes legalized, they cannot foresee the future for some reason. It makes no sense to me at all, but they see it illegal now, and they don't see anything else. It's illegal now. In their minds, I guess it will never change, but they cannot imagine a different world as of now. And I think that's actually happened state to state. Before a state gets legalized, they're gonna have pushback from a lot of different groups until it actually goes through.
Well,
Wow.
Gandhi said that, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
Exactly. Yep. Well, that's how it's been. That's definitely how it's been. We're ready for a win. We're definitely ready for a win.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So one of our viewers just asked, do you think they're morally objected to it, or is it a business thing for them?
I think it's a business thing, truthfully. I've talked, these guys are business guys. So even to kind of bring it back to trying to get a location in Carmel, they see it as a bad business move. They see it as a risk. They see it as affecting the neighbors. They see it as, potentially causing conflict with anchor stores. So business people are not emotional, or good business people, I would say, don't really show emotion towards business, and they are seeing it as a numbers type of thing until it actually happens.
Interesting. Neil, go ahead.
All right. I'd like to go back to the idea of the Cannabis Commission again for a little bit. What do you end up seeing a Cannabis Commission regulating as far as cannabis in Indiana?
Neil, that could be a story in itself. There are so many things
I can kick back. Let's go.
that are going to be needed to be regulated as far as scaling goes, because that is the mistake that most states have. I mentioned before, just having legalization without regulation is going to create a green rush. The chamber's job is to kind of prevent that and see a vision for long term, 15, 20 years into the industry. That's what we're looking at instead of 2 years into the industry. So like any other industry, there are going to be ups and downs, but it's moving with those ups and downs and getting us to a plateau sooner than later, or stabilizing it sooner than later.
Oh, well, how difficult is it actually going to be to do that?
It's going to be very difficult. This is the first time that we're even discussing things like this in Indiana. So that conversation is probably going to have to continue. I forecast 2 to 3 years.
That sounds a lot better than it did 50 years ago. And when are we going to legalize? Hell, I don't know. You know,
That's what a lot of people give me feedback saying the timing's really right with this one. And I kind of agree. I think that there's a time and a place for everything. And I think the time for this is now. And I think that NORML and Midwest Hemp Council and all the other advocacy groups are gonna be in it. In it, ready for a long run. But I think in about 2 years, we'll see a lot of progress.
do you think that we'll actually be able to get the state government legislature to listen to us
I
on
think
this?
so.
Or are we going to have to grab them and say, listen, you?
I think so. I definitely think so. As you guys have seen, our political landscape has changed drastically over the last year. Than the last 50 years. I could definitely. I saw a ton of changes in the past 1 to 2 years, and I think people are ready to, fight for this now. As you guys know, that abortion thing was insane. It's definitely insane. A lot of people minds are blown by it, and nobody really knows why or how this was done. So I think, now people are seeing that progressives might be, it might be the thing to be here in the next election. And especially, you mentioned Jim Merritt. It's people like him that are seeing that this is now a huge issue that you can fund on and that you can theoretically win on.
It never should have been a partisan issue to begin with.
I don't know, not at all. It's a common sense issue.
Yeah.
Common sense issue.
Yeah. Well, it was, go back into the prohibition of cannabis was, the ruling class didn't like black people or Hispanics. Black people and Hispanics like cannabis. And, the prohibition is played on America's white racism, and that's why it got sold, and that's why it's hell trying to get it opened up.
Well said. I almost take that to even bring it to modern day times with that Brittany Garner situation. 9 years for a cart was a political play.
Oh yeah, there's we really, and I heard this, read this several times in foreign media, that they felt America didn't have standing since we've got people locked up for longer than that for pot.
For sure. For sure.
And I don't want to see anybody behind jail for cannabis. She made a mistake. Well, I'm sorry. We've got a lot of people in our prisons. Let's let everybody out.
I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So my next question kind of goes with one of our viewer questions. The viewer question was, will the chamber be helping in the writing of the legislation for it to be legalized in Indiana?
We will. That is what lobbyists do. So a big thing is the philanthropy aspect of this is fundraising to get some experts and really good connected lobbyists to be able to create some bills and actually have those bills co-signed and eventually passed. But that is definitely one of the goals. How that goes. How that goes is it's not just on me. That is when the board will get together to vote on what direction that we would want to go on writing bills.
So what does your lobbying look like in your perfect world?
No, it's a great question. My lobbying looks like adhering to the experts and the people that have the connections, have the resources. Taft has national resources. So utilizing everything that we can have, getting a bank account that is substantial, because as you guys know, with politics, that is the fire for campaigning. So it's almost like campaigning for the legalization efforts, so to speak.
So I would like to just, any of our viewers out there, especially any maybe CBD store owners, or anybody that's out there growing hemp that may be interested in growing cannabis once it's legal, please go to Frank's website, look at the memberships that are available. And also, I really want you to pay attention to what you get for that money, because you can actually talk to the lobbyist.
Yep.
So you can let these lobbyists know what's important to you as a, say, a business owner or a grower or a potential grower or a potential dispensary owner. You know, what do you want? And on some of these levels of membership, you can actually talk to the, not only the lobbyist, but for the board member of the Indiana Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. Let them know what you want. They're very open. I mean, that's why Frank made this, is what I'm getting from this. He wants to hear from all you business owners and make sure he honors everyone. Frank, does that sound about right?
Absolutely.
Or please correct me if I'm wrong.
And then well said, definitely well said. And then the transparency aspect to the organization. You know, everyone is going to know how each dollar is allocated. There is no guessing of where my money is going. You will have access to, you know, every dollar that we spend on, and our bank account and our funding, because that is also the motivation that I just like NORML and just like Midwest Hemp Council, the funding is the fire that lets us do what we can do.
And with the Midwest Hemp Council, I think, and again, Neil, Shelley, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, they had a very integral part in getting hemp legalized here in
Absolutely.
Indiana. I mean, yes, it was federally legal, but that means nothing to Indiana government. We still have to fight for what's federally legal. So, I mean, it may be a little pricey, the memberships, if you see them, but go through and look at what you get. And I think that the value right now, get in now is all I can say, is because, I mean, for what you get, I think it's very fair membership prices.
Do I have time to ask a question, Denise?
Absolutely. Go, Shelley.
Oh, super. Hey, Frank, a quick question for you. Because the cannabis industry encompasses so many businesses, can someone outside of the cannabis industry join you, like for, say, a courier company or a florist, or somebody just that's not immediately in the industry right now?
I mean,
A good taco restaurant.
We almost say everybody is vicariously in the industry. A good taco restaurant are going to have have cannabis users in their shop, because their tacos are going to be tasting really good after that great joint that they just smoked with, hopefully when it gets legalized. But I feel like everybody will actually benefit. The florists will have businesses that might want dispensaries that might want to have live plants showcased in their dispensary. I think there's a connection with almost every industry with the legalization of cannabis.
Yes, that's what I love about this industry, is there is a place for everyone. No one's excluded.
Exactly. No one is excluded. And that's something to really say about the cannabis culture, because that's really what I feel. Even talking to other organizations, talking to other businesses, there isn't really a lot of competition. It's more camaraderie. And that's something that I love about our culture, the cannabis culture. And that's something I love about this industry as well.
I've always found that, if you've got a bunch of stoners together, you've got peace and love.
For sure. I agree.
And look at all the restaurants out there. How about a cannabis infused appetizer menu by the time they kick in, you'll be selling desserts like crazy.
You know it. You know it. You know it.
So we are closing in on our hour mark, but we did have someone ask, how can we reach out to the speaker? Frank, how can people either reach out to you, to reach out to your organization? Can you give us your contact information again and
No, definitely.
website?
All of that is going to be on our website, www.indiecannabischamber.org. From there, you'll be able to go to our social media. You can definitely direct message myself anytime. And then there's contact numbers all over the website as well. So feel free, please reach out. Please reach out. I'd love to talk to anybody.
Frank, tell us anything about your organization.
What's
Tell us
that?
anything about the organization that we either haven't gotten from you or that, you want to share. What would be your closing statements for us?
No, closing statements is, again, we want to create a sustainable Hoosier cannabis industry. We need an all hands on deck to do this. Other states have put in the work. Normal has put in the work. You have to put in the work to get this done. It's not something we can wait around and it's just going to happen. We cannot assume that. We have to put in the work to get this done, just like any advancements.
Sounds good. And Frank, again, thank you. I know definitely Indiana Normal, but I'm guessing quite a few people out in Indiana really want to thank you for filling that void. People don't know how much work goes into starting an organization. How long have you been working on this?
So the chairman of Normal put a bug in my ear in January. So I've been working on it since January. Definitely learned a lot along the way and glad to be here to finally be on your podcast, kind of announcing the opening.
Awesome. Well, like I said, thank you so much for doing what you do, for fighting the fight. Again, to our viewers, we will be out at the Liberty Bash in Bedford on September 10th and the Harvest Fest down in Indianapolis, post 34 on the September 24th, the Harvest Fest. So everybody come out, join us. Frank might even be at a couple of those. I know you'd love to shake his hand. Neil may be out. Shelly, she's at all the events. I don't know. You can't. She's working hard for us. So I think I'll be at Harvest Fest. Come out and say hello. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank